Yeah, you had 13 gigs.
Where were we?
You were finishing up with
You were talking about
Your
Marion
aunts,
and
your
her
great
sister?
aunts.
Vera and Marge.
Oh, yeah.
Vera and Marge, and so, I mean, that was probably a good place to quit. That was the oldest relative you remember as a child.
But I don't know if we got, did we get the answer of who they were?
Whose brothers and sisters were they? Vera and Marge and Miriam. Who were they related to? Your mom or your dad?
This is on my dad's side.
Your dad's side. All three of them?
Yes.
Oh,
Did your mom have, did you have any aunts from your mom's side? Or have uncles from your mom's
Elements.
side?
Yeah,
George.
Claude, the one that was killed in the First
Claude,
World War,
George.
and Uncle George.
Just the two?
Mhm.
Did she have any sisters? Or just the two brothers?
Just the two brothers.
Well, that's
That's
more like the family tree, and we've got that information.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I was looking for more for like, so when you're looking back at this thing, what world event, as you look back in your history, your life, what world event had the most impact on you personally? I mean, and why? So what world impact? I mean, were you alive when McKinley was president, or you want to go back?
Lincoln?
Washington.
No, Lincoln, no.
Oh, maybe not Washington. It's kind of
What
way
was the
back.
earliest president?
Well, when I was born, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt became president, and he got everybody back to work with the WPA, and many back in 30, 34, 36 are right in there. And
CCC and the WPA.
pardon?
CCC, Civilian Civil Corps.
I
Triple C.
probably, I don't recall that, but I know about the WPA that put a lot of people to work, but my father worked for the utility company. He started at the utility company, and he stayed on the utility company, and when the war broke out and they started the defense plant, many fellas quit their job and went down there to make some good money at the defense plant. And there were several from the utility company that went down there. In fact, there were a couple, I guess, from the meter shop. My dad worked in the meter shop repairing and rebuilding electric meters. That's what he did for a living. And but there was,
You think that was a world event then, World War II?
well, I think World War II probably had not a big impact on me, because I was, 34 and 12 is 46, and 41, 8 years old. So obviously I wasn't in World War II, and I graduated in 1952, and the Korean War was over. And then I got married, and I fathered 2 or 3 children before the Vietnam War broke out in 1970 or something like that. So,
They didn't have a draft for that?
well, when my senior year, I went into Chicago with a bunch of other guys to get classified and get your physical exam. And I was classified 1A along with the rest of the guys. And so at that same time, they were advertising quite heavily about joining the Navy and under the buddy system. And they were, quote, guaranteeing you that you would be buddies throughout your career in the Navy if you went in. That obviously didn't happen, I don't believe, like they said it was going to. So 3 of us guys, Sparrow, Woolridge, Darrell, we call him Sparrow, Darrell and Herb Henning and I, we went up to Rockford to take an aptitude test. We went up there and did that. So we all passed the aptitude test, and about a month later, why Herb and Darrell got notice to come join the Navy, and I never got a notice. So I was classified 1A, and at that time they were still taking about 6 to 8 a month in the draft. So I lived in Dixon at the time, and then when you moved, or you married, or had a child, moved to another county, you had to see go to the draft board and get reclassified, address and so forth, in your status, you know, if you were a father, or, and they were still exempting people who were going, guys who were going to college. They were still drafting them. And so I got mad about it, but I didn't get any notice, so I said, well, the heck with it, I'll just go if they draft me. So then, of course, I got married and had the 2 or 3 kids, you and Deborah, and
It's almost like you forgot, like, what was
Kathleen
the
Murray.
other one?
And anyway, so
Well, that brings up an interesting
About-
question. That Ted here, so how did you meet our mother? You know,
Why and how and
Well,
what were you thinking?
No.
I'm just
now,
kidding.
just in thinking of that, I don't ever remember the story about how you met, you know,
Where?
that type of thing.
I mean, she was from Amboy, right?
she was from Amboy,
The farm was.
out between Amboy and Walden. And she was going to Coppin's Business College, which was up above the Penny Store on Galena Avenue in Dixon.
Okay.
And
Right
I
across
was-
from the theater.
I was working at the drugstore at the time, Walgreens drugstore. And I was a soda jerk, and I wasn't a soda jerk all the time, but I mean, I helped out over at the fountain at the,
Is that what they called it, a soda
Soda
jerk?
fountains. They
So
do.
Yeah.
when you weren't doing soda, you were just a jerk.
no, when I was not doing that, my job was working over on the other side. My job I had when I wasn't doing anything else was starting at one end of the back of the store and coming every shelf. I had to take everything off the shelf, wipe the shelves, wipe all the bottles, boxes, whatever was on the shelf, and put it back. When I wasn't doing anything else, that was my job doing that. So I got along very well with the 2 owners, with Jerry Laughlin and Paul Johns, the 2 owners. They were in together, and so I met your mother in the drugstore, and
How would she come in and
Pardon?
get a soda?
she would come in and get a soda. Yeah,
A soda fountain?
or come in and get a lunch or something at the lunch. We just I don't know. We just met one day in there, and I spotted her, and
Spotted
I was
her, you
talking
thought
to-
she was a hot chick?
I was talking to her, and then she was living.
Was she still at home? Living at home on the farm?
No, she was staying up at she was staying at a house over in the north side,
Okay.
whom my parents knew very well. And so we corresponded back and forth. I wrote her some letters, which you probably know about.
No.
Wrote some letters. Well, John has all the details on that. And
Would you give them to, you mailed
I think
them
it was
to
John.
her, or you gave them to her when she came in the store?
yeah, well, she
like a
was
little
done at
secret
Coppin's, and she went to work down at the Coffee Implement Company down on West First Street. So I would stop in and see her after work when I was working down at the gas company. And before she got off work, and sometimes I'd walk her home. I was clear over the north side, and we got a little more friendlier, and
Well, is that like first, second, third base kind of thing when you say more friendlier?
Second shortstop, maybe?
I stole home a couple times.
Hence, John and Deb.
Anyway,
Did her father like you? Grandpa?
oh yeah, we got along fine. We got along fine. And
Did your sisters like Teresa?
Oh, yeah.
It's not no
Did my
Foster.
sister?
problem. Your sisters, did
Oh,
they like?
yeah, wasn't a problem with it.
Oh,
Dad was brought up a Lutheran, and when we decided to get married, Dad was a little bit upset about it. He didn't make a lot of noise about it, but
because
I
they were
was
Catholic, right?
I was gonna, no, Lutheran.
They were?
No.
My father was Lutheran, and I was brought up a Lutheran.
I was talking about mom.
Mom was a Christian Scientist, the same as Grandma Heldman.
Not Catholic?
I thought they were.
Not
No,
Catholic?
you're not listening.
No,
His mother,
my mother was a Christian Scientist.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
you didn't make it clear who you wanted to
Teresa.
talk about. There
They,
you go.
when they were sick, they
Yeah.
got well with divine healing. And there was a Christian Science church down on
Third
3rd Street, down on 3rd Street, right down past the fire department down there.
right
by
next to the park.
Yeah. And she didn't go to church much there until her older years. She went to church down there a few times. Sometimes she didn't go very often. But Grandma Heldman, there was a Christian Science. I don't recall their title, whether they were a pastor or a minister or what they were. But he had a place right across the street from Grandma's house, and she used to go over and see him over there quite often. And she sat at the radio all day long, off and on, nearly all day long, and listened to Mary Eddie Baker, of
The head of the Christians.
Christian Scientist. She was the originator, or whatever they called it. Mary Baker Eddy, or Mary Eddie Baker. I don't remember what. And so anyway, if I could go back to my father's side of the family, there was William, Uncle Bill, that had the hardware store. There was Vincent, and there was Howard. They had a sheet metal shop, and they would put these metal ceilings in these businesses. Are you listening?
Yes.
They put the metal.
You're being recorded, so.
Yeah, so,
They're putting they put these metal ceilings in all these stores, and a lot of these stores. Well, anyway, he had a heart attack and he died. I never knew him. He died right in 33 or 34 or 35, something like that. And he was married to Gertrude.
I remember Gertrude.
Aunt Gertie. And she had 2 daughters, Carol and Joanne. And they lived up above Uncle Bill's hardware store. And I believe that he probably helped them a lot with maybe no rent or whatever. I was up to their apartment a couple times. They had a nice apartment up there. And anyway, and then Aunt Gertie, she got hooked up with some fella. I don't have no clue who it was or anything. But then she had a boy, and I'm trying to think of his name. I can't off the top of my head think of his name right now. And this was in later years, really.
So she didn't marry him?
I don't believe so.
Oh.
No. And but Aunt Gertie was really a swell person. She always thought a lot of me, and we always got along real well.
Are you and her about the same age, or is she a little older?
Oh no, Gertie was older than me. Anyway, she worked at the cleaners on First Street, up First Street towards East 3rd Street, First Street. No, River Street. Cleaners is on River Street, way up, sort of ways up. And before you get to the Y cut off there, the men.
Oh, yeah.
And she worked there for years. She was a worker. She always worked. And if I may go back to my high school days
Sure.
for a moment,
Yeah.
I was recalling one, call it incident for lack of a better word, that one New Year's Eve, my mother and father always went out partying on New Year's Eve, and so me and Eddie, and Eddie Coffey, who was best man when I married Teresa. And anyway, we went out. I'm trying to think who was with us besides Eddie. Oh, Jim Cornwell, I believe. Jim Cornwell. Anyway, So we went out early that New Year's Eve and just riding around, and we went down to Rock Falls, and we went down to this tavern, and you come in the back of the tavern across all their storage areas in the back, and then you walk clear up to the front, you know. Well, Eddie, he went up to the front there to get a beer, and of course they wouldn't serve him. He showed them his ID. Well, while they were up there, while we, Jim and I, we got some Moga David wine and put it in the car, and so we was gonna have a party then afterwards. So we went up. Then
What year were you in high school?
we left, probably junior.
Junior?
I want to say junior or senior, probably junior. Anyway, so we went up to the house, up my house on Auto Avenue, and of course Eddie lived right next door. But we went there and we drank some Moga David wine, and we were all sick and in bed long before midnight. Went to bed, went home, went to bed. And the next morning, Dad called me downstairs, and he had a fish tank, a square, long fish tank, you know, that set on the chest. Anyway, he called me downstairs, and so I come down, and he says, "What happened here in my fish tank?" And the fish tank was all kind of purplish red, and all the fish were dead on top. And one of the guys poured the Morgan David wine in the fish tank, killed all his fish. So, so I knew what the wager strap was in high school as well as grade school.
The wager strap?
That's what he got. Yep.
Oh yeah, I got the razor strap.
Oh, razor strap.
Razor strap, yeah.
Okay.
And
Was that the last time you got the
So
razor strap?
how many
I
cracks
think
did he
so.
give you, like a couple swats in the butt?
oh yeah, he'd give you a couple swats. Never had welts, but you knew you got swatted.
I think the welts are if you don't have clothes on. Or thin jeans.
But anyway,
thin jeans.
that was quite a deal there. And
Oh.
so
So what'd you say to your friend that poured that in the tank? Did you confront him later? It's like, hey, why'd you kill my dad's fish?
Oh, yeah.
Were you ready to knock him out for doing that because you got in trouble?
Yeah, he did get it. You got it.
You got,
So where did you go on vacations? Did you guys ever go on vacations or have outings?
we had outings all the time. We didn't, very seldom did we go on a quote a vacation, but we went out to the park many times. We'd go out, a lot of times we went out there in the morning and get a
picnic table, pavilion?
Like a shelter.
shelter, yeah. When the shelters, made out of stone, they were really nice, and we had breakfast.
Oh, yeah, that's
But we went out there many times and had breakfast.
Was it like just your family or was it like
Yeah,
a get
just
together?
our family.
Like oh, okay.
Our family, and that was great. We really had a good time. Always went out there. And that was even when I was smaller. And then we'd take a walk wherever this path went up to the ice box.
Oh, yeah, I remember the ice box.
Ice box. It was kind of a cold
Was
cave
it
like.
Lowell Park? Did
Yeah,
they have that?
Lowell Park, yeah, yeah.
How was the river at the time? Was it pretty good?
That was all
As
right.
far as-
Yeah.
Did y'all go out in the
Yeah.
river swimming or anything when you went there?
Oh yeah, we went swimming lots of times out there. That's where I learned how to swim.
Did they have a place where, where you could swim without the undertows? Did they have like a safe place or did y'all just
Well,
swim
they
and
had
take
it
a
roped
chance?
off. They had it roped off for the shallow part, and then just beyond that was a platform, for lack of a
Yeah.
proper word,
Platform.
where the dives were, high dive and the low dive, and it was on big barrels.
Did you ever get caught in an undertow?
No, no. It wasn't too
That's
far,
not too bad.
maybe only 10 feet, maybe 20 feet beyond the
Huh.
thing, and we always challenged one another, because you never was a good swimmer until you could swim across the river. And part of the river, when you got part of the way over, you could dog paddle or almost walk, because you had sandbars out there that was this deep, and the rest of it was 7, 8 feet, maybe a few deeper spots, but not much. But when you could swim over and swim back, you were
A good
all
swimmer.
sweat. You were all set.
Oh.
And Ronald Reagan, our ex-president, he taught my sister Mary how to swim. He was a lifeguard out there when he boyhood days.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's kind of a cool little tidbit. I don't
Yep.
think I knew that.
You didn't know
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
We know 'cause
he
of
taught Mary,
family
Sister
reunions.
Mary how to swim.
Do you remember them building the memorial pool?
Yes, oh yes.
Were y'all excited about it?
Oh yeah, everybody was excited about the pool. Yep.
That was a nice pool to be
When
able to
was
see
that
the
built?
people. How old?
I was in high school when it was built, I
So you were
believe.
probably like 15,
Late.
15, 16 years old maybe?
I believe so.
Was it open when?
I don't think it was out of
open
school.
by the time you graduated or not?
Yeah, pretty sure it was. That memory doesn't serve me real good there just when it was built. It was
So
hopeful when
did you
it
ever
was
look
built.
around and think, wow, he's gonna be president one day?
Oh yeah, well, a little story about Reagan when he ran for office in 1982 for the first time. He was at St. Clair Square,
I remember that.
and so I went up there, made a point to go up there, and in all the main lobby there, the first floor, they had it kind of all roped off, and so I went up and I just waited down there. I had a camera, my one-step camera, and so his nickname was Dutch. He went by that all the time. And he was in Dixon, a lot of different big things going on in
He came
Dixon.
to our high
He
school.
would be
Yeah, I
there.
remember.
I was in high school.
And then the woman that came with him a lot of times was Luella Parsons. And Luella Parsons was she kept track of all
Engagements.
Events.
the actors, actresses out of
Oh,
Hollywood. She
yeah.
was, I forget what they called her, but anyway, there was others that came too different times, but anyway, so I went there in the lobby and kind of waited around there, and pretty soon here come Dutch Reagan, Ronald Reagan, and he was walking along there, so I kind of stepped out on the other side of the rope there, and everybody was kind of walking around. I mean, it wasn't like security was so tight. And so I just walked right up to the rope there, and he was just started by, and I said, "Hey, Dutch, how you doing?" He looked, and I said, "Hey, John Slothower from Dixon." "Oh my goodness, you a Slothower?" I said, "Yep." And
Didn't he come over and shake your hand?
oh yes, come over, shook my hand. I said,
Mom's
"Could I get
hand.
could I get a snapshot?" He said, "Sure."
Oh.
So
That was
I
nice.
got that snapshot of him. Everybody was looking and
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow.
yapping away.
Did you
I-
talk to him about Mary then? Did you remind him about them working together then?
Or him teaching
No.
her how to
Saw
swim.
Mary, no.
But someone sent him something when he was in the
I
White
sent a
House.
letter to Washington when we had one of our family reunions, and invited him to our family reunion. And I got a letter back, and I still got that letter. That was his busy schedule and heavy schedule. At this time, he's just not able to come, and he knows that you'll have a good time. And he said, "I hope to see you one of these days when I am in Dixon." And he said, "I got a lot of good memories in Dixon."
That's
And
nice.
his parents were alcoholics, and he was actually born in Tampico, Illinois. And then as a young child, they moved to Dixon right up there in Peoria or Hennepin. Hennepin
I
Avenue.
think it's
Did he have
Yeah,
brothers-
Hennepin is
did he
where
have
the-
brothers and sisters?
Hennepin is where the house is, and that they got it all
Yeah, I think a brother too.
remodeled, and it's a
History.
what do we
It's a
call it?
memorial
Historical
now.
place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, didn't they change Central School, South Central, into a
Ronald
Ronald
Reagan?
Reagan Museum?
Yes, they
Or a
did.
museum?
Yes, they did. Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
are you still on?
Yep, we're still on. When and where did you get married, Dad? Or when and how did you decide to get married?
Well, I took instructions from Father Green up at St. Pat's Church, and he shortly after that he became a Monsignor. He'd been in Dixon for many years, knew my parents real well, and so he really enjoyed giving me the works on catechesis.
So you converted to Catholicism before
Yeah.
you married?
Right, and before I married Teresa, yeah. And there was a funny thing about that because Teresa came from a family that they never missed a day of obligation, a holy day of obligation. They never missed confession. never missed church. And when I went down to visit on numerous occasions, like in the evening and that, maybe taking her home or something or other, they would always say the full rosary, all 5 decades. Was it 5 or 3?
5.
5, yeah, all 5 decades, yeah. And
The
but,
whole family?
yeah, well, the ones that were there, Junior and Pat, little Pat, and Teresa's sister, the one that was murdered,
Moses?
Edna?
Oh, Edna.
Edna,
Yeah,
Edna. And she stayed with us for a few days up there one time in Oregon. And but anyway, it was strange because in talking to Teresa after I became a Catholic, of course I started studying the Bible and reading the Bible very often, and I was pretty active in the church. I was in the choir, and that was in the 50s when Gregorian chant was very popular. That means they chanted the Mass in Latin. And of course I took 2 years of Latin. And at the time I took the 2 years of Latin in high school, I had visions. I was working at the drugstore, and I had visions of becoming a pharmacist. And my boss at Walgreens did everything he could to talk to me into going out to Drake University, out I think Des Moines or wherever.
That's where Jim went to
That's
school.
for- yeah.
And
It's a big pharmacy school.
become a pharmaceutical school. And
Mr.
So I talked-
Walgreen himself?
I talked to my,
Mr. Walgreen himself?
no,
Is that what he said?
no, Jerry Laughlin was my boss
Oh,
at Walgreens.
Oh,
Work, okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it worked.
My bad.
And
I'm like,
but I talked to my chemistry teacher about it because I took chemistry. I took every subject that was needed for something like that. And I just kind of stuck by on chemistry. I think I got maybe a C minus. I got my credit, but anyway, I never will forget my teacher. I was talking to him about it. He was wanting to go to pharmaceutical school, and he said, "Well, John," he said, "I think you'd be wasting your time, and if you went." He said, "Unless you change your tune," he said, "you seem to never open a book. You seem to just get by." And he said, "If you made up your mind that you wanted to study, you could make it very easily out there. You're smart enough to know it." And he meant really. He was not just laughing and joking.
Yeah.
He said,
Right, he's telling me.
he said, "If you change your tune and decided you were going to study, you could go out there and become a pharmacist." And so I didn't want to change my tune, I guess. So.
Had you asked him that question? Wasn't there a question about what other profession would you have liked to have gone into?
And,
so back to when and how you decided to get married?
Oh,
So
yeah, we got it.
that's part of that?
Oh, you
Switching
went to
over.
talk to the pastor or
Of the church?
He was
And he could-
Monsieur or whatever.
And he got converted to Catholicism.
Yeah.
well, he knew we were going to get married. We were engaged, and we were going to get married, and then almost had what I thought was a disaster, but it really wasn't. Rose, she was going with this guy that worked for the Wonder Bread Bakery, I think it was. Anyway, they decided to get married. They got married like 2 weeks before we
Now
did.
this is
Rose,
Teresa, Aunt Rose, Teresa's
Aunt
sister.
Rose, yeah.
Got married a
Teresa's
couple weeks
sister.
before.
Yeah, it was only a couple, 3 weeks before we got married. I was just madder than a hornet because I thought, well, I guess we were not going to be able to get married.
Was
Oh,
hers, she
Henry
just,
said, "Well, you want to get married? We get married, John. Everything's fine." And so,
No, Henry was her dad,
yeah,
mom's dad.
right,
Or
that's
Teresa's
correct.
dad.
Grandpa.
Mary McGlynn was her mother. Mary McGlynn O'Hare.
So what were her parents like?
I don't really know anything about her parents to speak of, other than that they came from Ireland, came over from Ireland, and
First generation from Ireland? They came right from the boat, or?
that I'm not sure of, but I think they did. I'm not really sure. Anyway, we took a vacation and went out to Boone, Iowa to visit the O'Hare, Henry's side of the family mostly was out there. And so we went out there, and before we went out, I had this, I forget which car I had at the time, but I went up to Rockford and I bought a Buick Super Riviera, 1952 Buick Super Riviera. No, I'm sorry. Before I got the Riviera, Earl was dealing and wheeling with somebody up in Oregon.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yes.
There was a gal there that her husband had passed away, and he sold her a water softener. And she had a 1946 Buick Roadmaster with a straight stick, absolutely mint condition, sitting in the garage except for the tires. And he said, "Hey, John," he says, "I got a good buy for you." He said, "You get that car up there, she'll sell it to you for $150. I said, "Okay," because I knew Earl wouldn't, if he knew there was something wrong with it, he would say something, you know. Anyway, so I got that, and we took off with that 46 Buick.
wow.
Man, I'm telling you, it was nice. And
So all you had to get was tires for it.
so, yeah, we had 2 flat tires on the way out. When we got out there, one of the brother-in-laws had a gas station, and he sold tires.
That's handy.
I don't know if you ever heard of the name, but the tires we bought were called Lee of Conshohocken, or Lee of Shohocken, or something like that. Lee tires.
Never heard of them.
Anyway, he sold me a set of tires, and boy, did he give me a good deal out of it. And,
That was an old man Haka jockey's.
it probably was, yeah. And anyway, so we had good tires when we come back, but that Buick with that straight stick, you could start off and take off down the street, and after you get second gear and then down to third gear, you could take your foot off the accelerator, and that would run along without a lick in third gear. Never cough, choke, or anything. I mean, it was just a run perfect. And I traded that in.
Is that what you said?
Huh?
Buick Roadmaster.
Buick Roadmaster, yeah, the old
42?
Buick 4-door Roadmaster, yep. Straight 8. And
So in this Roadmaster, had you already proposed? When did you propose to Teresa?
Yeah, were you married when you went out there, or were you just
No,
engaged?
they were going on a trip. I don't think he was
Uh,
married yet. But I mean, how did you propose? Did you propose in front of people, just you and her, or
no, I just proposed to her.
you
Was
had
she
a ring?
surprised?
You had a
when she
ring?
expected it?
Did you kneel down?
Huh?
Did you kneel?
Yeah, he knelt down. I proposed to her, yeah. It was over where she was staying over at the north side.
Did she say yes?
Huh?
Say yes.
She said, "I'll think about it." Did she
didn't
say
put
yes,
on the
I will, or
scoreboard
what
with
was
the
her
big
She,
response?
she said yes. Yes, there wasn't any question about it.
Oh.
Yep.
And then you spent the night? I don't
No.
know.
It was a home run.
But something funny about that, we when we were going together, Earl, when he got out of the service, he built a house down in Sterling, out on East 16th Street. And he and another guy built a couple houses, one for the other guy and one for him, out of cement block. They made their own cement blocks.
Wow.
They had
They made their own.
They had a cement block maker, and and Earl was working hauling dirt in that, a truck. Worked for a company that had a truck hauling dirt and everything. But they built that first house they had. He built that, and this other
All
guy
that
out of
stone?
cement blocks. Yep.
Cement blocks.
And it's still, as far as I'm pretty sure last I talked to Earl, which was maybe a year or two ago,
Before,
it was still there.
wow.
And it was on East 16th Street. I can't remember the address, but it was on East 16th Street.
So how many people did, oh, go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and then, so then we went ahead and we got married.
How many people knew you were gonna propose? Did you tell anyone you were gonna propose? Like, did your parents know that you were gonna ask Teresa to marry you, or did you kind of tell
Yeah,
them
no,
after?
no, they
So
knew.
They all knew?
Dad, I guess I was starting to tell you, to got off track, but Dad, he was, a little bit put out that I joined the Catholic Church. instead of staying Lutheran.
Hmm.
And, but he was all right with it. And
Now, did you take anybody with you to get the ring, or you picked up the ring yourself, or did you take Teresa with you? I mean, how did you?
no, Teresa went with me when we got our wedding bands.
Oh, so she already knew what the engagement ring would look like?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yes. And it wasn't a really expensive
Solitaire?
one.
Was it a solitaire round?
Yeah, a little solitaire.
I'm just curious.
And but anyway, we got married at the Dechusa house,
Oh, no.
Oh,
right next to the
okay.
post office.
That's
Yeah,
nice,
Yeah.
we swam in the Touche.
In the church house.
Yeah, Dechusa house. Yep.
Huh.
And that's where Lincoln stayed there one time, many moons ago.
Now you
Yeah,
had the
he was-
reception there too? Was it the?
Yeah, had a
you
reception
got married
there.
in the reception?
Yeah, had a nice reception.
How many people were
Nice.
at your reception?
Oh gosh, there weren't too many.
Like
Oh,
immediate
dear.
family and some
But yeah,
friends?
family and a few friends. I doubt if we had over. I really doubt if we had 50.
So how big was your wedding party? I mean, how many groomsmen or?
Oh, we just had it was a rather simple wedding. We just had what
Maid
you
of
needed,
honor?
you might say.
So it was just, she just had a maid of honor and you just had a
Best man.
best man and that was it? She didn't have any bridesmaids?
Yeah, she had a couple bridesmaids, and I don't remember who they were, to be honest with you.
Her sisters? Maybe one? Well, she had a lot of sisters. I would imagine she probably.
Well, she
picked
didn't
a
have a
friend
lot.
for
There was
maid of
Edna
honor.
and Rose and
Who was her maid of honor?
Dorothy,
Dorothy was?
older sister.
Wow.
She lived out in
The
Eugene,
sisters said
Oregon.
you're so
yeah.
competitive. Why can't I be your
She
maid
lived
of
out
honor?
in Eugene, Oregon. Dorothy did. And Dorothy,
Was she out in California at the time or was she still? in
no,
the
she
area?
lived in Oregon.
Oregon.
She was a school teacher out there, her and her husband.
So
and
she
they-
came in for the wedding?
And her mother was very disappointed in Dorothy and also in Rose,
Why?
because Rose broke away from the Catholic Church, and to make it worse, Dorothy broke away from the Catholic Church, and I don't remember the church she joined, but he was, whatever church he belonged to.
So mother wasn't very
Yeah.
happy. Their
Oh,
mother,
she was, oh no, not happy at all.
Grandma O'Hare was not happy with them too.
That's correct, about breaking away from the church. And,
You keep, oh, it's right over there.
was that over? No?
No,
No,
Oh.
keep going.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm just going with
And,
Sharon.
We
So
may
that's
not,
the,
we may not look like we're
that's
paying
the
attention.
proposal
but-
thing. I wanna go with you. Try to ask me questions. I'll leave it for the
Really?
boys to
You
ask
scooped
me.
them up like that.
I'm like, I don't know, I was just curious.
I know.
but
Sorry to
there's too
interrupt,
much-
Dan.
She just burned a video too.
so anyway,
Keep with your questions.
It's 5:30, guys.
Okay.
I'm sure that there were people waiting.
she was working in a factory down in Sterling,
Who was this?
Teresa.
Oh, okay.
And she lived over there and had a little room or an apartment like. And when we were still going together, until we got married.
Oh, she was working on the one on First Street. Or is this a different?
Well, this was down in Sterling.
Oh, okay.
I almost spit the name out. I can't remember the name of the place now. But she became friends with a couple different gals. And so I'd go over and see her quite a bit.
So
Yeah.
where'd you go on dates?
Oh, we go to the show or just go out for a soda or something like that, or go to one of the drive-ins. You know,
Okay.
kind of messed around. We didn't do a whole lot going together. I walked her over to the north side there, out to where she was living for a while. Walk her out there. We'd walk along the river out, and I don't remember. I think it was out in Chamberlain. East Chamberlain.
Yeah.
maybe? I think it was on Chamberlain where this woman lived.
So how long did you date before you got married? Remember? Like when was the first
Well,
date?
yeah, we kind of broke up for a while, and I don't recall there wasn't any big problem. We just broke up, That's what I was sending her the letters. And then,
You sent her letters?
oh yeah, you got them. Somebody got them.
I don't have any letters.
I don't think I have them. I'll look and see, but I don't think I have them.
Yeah, you're the one that said that you found these low letters. I'm positive.
Hmm.
Pretty certain it was you. Because I remember Sharon saying, well, we want to keep those. These
I'll have to
love
look and
letters I
see.
sent to
I'll have to look and see it, but I don't think I got them.
Teresa.
Um,
Then we got married, and then we lived in a little place up on, if you know where Steel Avenue is, the back of the cemetery. Steel Avenue, just a little short street, comes down to 3rd Street. You go all the way out 3rd Street to the end, and Steel Avenue is right at the back of the cemetery, kind of. North side of the cemetery. Anyway, where we lived, the fella, he worked for Jones Funeral Home. He was an embalmer, and he was a ex-Navy man. And they had a basement and a bar down there. And everything you seen around this bar and in this basement had to do with Navy. He had stuff all over the place. And they went on vacation, and we rented that place for $75 a month, and everybody thought we was crazy for paying $75 a month. You know, when you could when you could rent an upstairs apartment for $30 a month, 35 a month, 40 a month. So I always had that champagne taste and beer pocketbook. Because when I started working, I was taking home 49 something every 2 weeks. And till I joined the union, and then it started going up, you know. And because you was on a probationary period for 90 days before you joined the union.
right, right.
And but anyway, it was a real nice little apartment upstairs there. I remember Eric and Irene Kivisto and Frank and Peggy Hoyt. When we on the wedding night when we got up there, they'd already been there. We got ready to get into bed, and I was all hot to trot. We got into bed, and they had cut up a couple bars of soap into little tiny shavings. And you really couldn't feel it or pay attention to it till you got into bed. So, that was that. Oh, Teresa was fit to be tied when I told her what that was. I said, well, that crazy hoot owl, look at all the shavings they put in this soap. Must have been a couple bars, because there was, I don't think you could have put them all in that container, I don't know. Maybe you could.
Wow.
But I never will forget that. Oh, Teresa was bad. Oh. And so anyway, then we lived there. I went on the gas crew when I graduated on a Friday. Went to work Monday morning on the gas crew for the utility company. That time it was a public service company, and there was the gas and the electric, all one company. And so I went to work on a gas crew, digging ditches and that. That's how I got my start, like so many people said in those days. Oh, I got my start digging ditches. That was a common thing you'd say. Where'd you start working? Oh, I worked there. Well, I got my start digging ditches. Which I did. So then in the fall, a bid come up for second-class lineman up in Oregon, Illinois. And so I said, boy, I'm going to bid on that. That sounds good. I'm in polls. So I went up, I bid on it, and I got the job. Went up there, and my line foreman, he took me out different times by himself with the pickup truck, and I never will forget when I first started climbing them poles. And of course, I was light. I weighed 150 pounds or whatever. I shouldn't say light, it didn't weigh a lot. And boy, some of these cedar poles were fine with your hooks going into them as you climb. But these blackjack poles, they were hard in the hubs of hell. And me, I had to, if you weighed 200 pounds, well, you could just stick your gaff right into them. And, but I went up a couple of them blackjacks, and my line foreman put me on a blackjack pole right off the bat. And he told me, he said, now, I don't want you to go clear up there. He said, I just want you to go up a couple times and down, put your scare strap on going up. Don't wait till you get up there. So I put that around there, so when you went up, if you did slip, you wouldn't be fall clear to the ground. I got splitters, I got plenty of splitters in me, slipping a couple different times, you know, till I got used to that.
Sure.
But I used to hate them blackjack poles because, boy, I had to do that.
Really get a bite.
Axel Reed, or Frank Reed, his nickname was Axel, but anyway, he probably weighed about 250, 225. So the other guys did too. Now they go up there, the cedars, they just go in. I'd go in the cedars okay, but them blackjacks, they could still get in them, you know, because of their weight.
So when you thinking about all the different jobs that you had, you know, is there any profession that you wish you would have done or would have done different? Profession or trade? Or...
Oh, a number of things probably I might have done different. When I quit the utility company, I walked off the job. We were working on a pole